I'm Brandon Kaufman. I'm the Chief Fiscal Officer for the City of Topeka.
I'm Nikki Lee. I'm the Budget Manager for the City of Topeka. The budget is the primary planning document for the city every year. What it does is it sets the course for what we spend our money on, which basically decides what the city is going to do that coming year. So in Kansas, we have some pretty strict requirements for the budget. We have a deadline that we have to adopt the budget by August 25th every year for the following year. So for example, right now, even though we're only in 2014, we're working on the 2015 budget and we have to have it adopted by August 25th, so a couple of months before 2015 even starts. There are some other rules in Kansas that we have to abide by. We have to set certain public notices to let the public know what the budget is going to be. We have to set certain funding levels, meaning we can't spend any more that we said we're going to spend. We have to have the council adopt by a certain day. So there's some rules that every city in Kansas needs to abide by to adopt the budget. In the summer, we're trying to project how much sales tax we're going to bring in that following year. So right now, we're thinking about where's the economy going to go in 2015? Are property values going up? Are people going to be spending more money and paying more sales tax? Not only that, but all the other funds like the water fund, we're having to project how much water are people going to use next year. And something like that really varies, especially depending on weather. A couple years ago, we had a pretty good drought in Kansas, so our water fund had huge revenues, a huge spike in revenues. However, if we have a pretty wet year and people aren't watering their lawn as much, we're getting a lot less revenues in the water fund, meaning we're having to spend less. So really, that's one of the major challenges, and one of the most important things we're having to do is forecast how much money we're getting in each of these funds so we can decide how much to spend. So the main fund that we talk about every year is the general fund. And the reason this is most important to citizens is this is funded pretty much by the general citizen through mostly property tax and sales tax. And what this is this is money that goes towards all of our general city services. So public safety, public works, the zoo here in Topeka, our internal services, everything like that is paid for through general fund, which is about $87 million for the 2014 budget.
The general fund is one of the most important funds of the city because it supports some of the basic services that citizens connect to every day, whether you're seeing a police officer out on the streets or a fireman coming to put out a fire. It has all the general services that are supported by property taxes, which every homeowner pays for throughout the city.
Then we have about 40 other funds. So we have quite a bit of different funds, and most of those funds are for specific reasons. So for example, we have a water fund that the revenue source is your water fees, so people that use the water pay into that. And then we have to use it on things that are just specific for water. We have stormwater, we have wastewater, we have a lot of specialized funds like historic preservation funds. We have transient guest tax funds. That's money we get from hotels that we use for different kind of tourism things around the city. So that's one of the things that makes the budget so complicated is that you're adopting a budget for about 40 different pots of money every year.
So every year by January 1st, the county goes out and they appraise the value of all properties within the county. So if your home was appraised at $100,000, then to get to the assessed valuation, you would take that times 11.5%, which would give you $11,500. Then to get to what 1 mil would equal, you would divide $11,500 divided by 1,000. So 1 mil would equal $11.50. When you receive your tax bill from the county, you'll see about 138 mills total of mills levied on your property. Out of that, the city only levies 36. So we make up about 26% of the total mills levied. The other portions, a large portion goes to the school, a large portion goes to the county, and then a small portion goes to the state of Kansas. The city receives 3 sales tax. There's a 1 cent sales tax, citywide sales tax that goes into the general fund. There's a ½ cent citywide sales tax that is set aside specifically for existing streets and sidewalks. And there's a ½ cent countywide sales tax that is approved for specific projects.
The CIP is the Capital Improvement Plan, and what that is a long-term plan for how the city is going to pay for major infrastructure improvements. There are major projects out there that cost multi-millions of dollars. For example, a major street overhaul, a bridge, a wastewater treatment plant. Those are the kinds of things that you don't pay for in a one-year operating budget. You pay for over several years. So the capital improvement plan here is usually a 5-year capital improvement plan. Right now we're working on the 2015 through 2019 CIP. So you really need to plan long-term for any of these major projects. For one thing, because you might need multiple years to pay for those kinds of major projects, but also for a lot of these it takes 3 years to complete. So for a major street project, it might take a year to get the easements and to move utilities. It might take a year to design it, and then it might take a year to construct. So these projects really are long-term and span more than one budget year. So capital improvement projects are funded through several different ways, and for the major projects, for the most part, we pay for them by borrowing money, which is a very standard procedure. When you have a multi-million-dollar project, you have to borrow money. That's the only way to pay for it. So we have several ways of getting money. We have general obligation bonds, which is really money that we pay back through our debt service fund, which is part of your property tax. And this is for general projects, usually like streets, like zoo projects, different things like that. And when we do that, we really have to balance what are the needs, the infrastructure needs out there in the city versus how much do we want to borrow. So we really have to be fiscally responsible when we decide how much to borrow. Out there in Topeka right now, we have multi-millions of dollars of infrastructure needs. Everybody can tell you what street they want improved, where our needs are, but unfortunately we can only borrow so much per year because we only want to pay back so much per year. The CIP takes a lot of planning and a lot of forward thinking. So when we're talking about a CIP, we actually start working on the CIP in the previous year. So for example, for the 2015 through 2019 CIP, we started working with our engineering folks in the fall of 2013 to start getting requests for projects that they need. A really important part of the budget process is citizen engagement and citizen involvement. We want to make sure that the budget speaks to the needs and the requests of the citizens. The formal public hearing, which is already set for August 12th, so that's the day, the last time that before August 25th, you can come and formally tell the City Council what you want to see, what you do and don't like in the budget. We also recommend you can contact your council members and let them know what you'd like to see in that year's budget. We encourage you to use social media. So once we have the proposed budget book out in June, take a look at it, let us know through our websites what you like about it, what you don't like about it. And finally, this year we're going to be doing an online poll where you can tell us what your major priorities are for the next funding year coming up.